Now back to it. The acid to alkaline balance we got here, the male to female balance, is going to represent itself in the left and right brain. And it's going to represent itself in the pH balance, obviously. Your acid and being masculine and your alkaline being feminine. So the acid is what pushes forward to experience more new experiences, and the alkaline is what you return to recharge, so that you have infinite energy to recharge from, but you don't want to stay there and stagnate. And if you become too alkaline and too dreamy and too watery, too emotional, too irrational, then the fungus starts to grow. Then you don't move. Then you're just then your water's too still in that sense, where it's just you're too deep, and you just mold and you get your fungus. So that's your too alkaline. That's your people that are extremely bitter and they're chasing the sweet. So they're going, as far as fungus is concerned, because fungus is thrush or candida. So the people chasing those sugars, those people that they are completely, they're acid in the sense, people eating carbs are, highly acidic, but I'm just saying as far as fungus itself is sugars. The sugars fuel the fungus. Because the sweetness is what's fueling the fungus. You don't want to be too sweet. You don't want to be overly sweet. You want to be slightly sweet. The more that you know good and evil, the more you can embody the good. Not to say anyone is better than the acid and alkaline, either one is better than the other one, but you have to know them both in order to embody the good. You have to know good and bad to make God decisions instead of good decisions. So you got your acid side, which would be acidic water. Anything overly acidic, overly male, is also stagnating, and so then you get your worms. So then you get you get your different breeds of parasite. Either way, you're getting your different false self. Whether you're too dreamy, you're too acidic, too rational, you become too acidic, that way, too male principled, too masculine, too overly charged, overly compensating, trying. This is the masculine, this is the overly acid lifestyle. And then you have the overly alkaline lifestyle, which is the overly passive, not speaking up when you're supposed to lifestyle, holding on lifestyle. So that's when the fungus grows. So the left brain will be associated with the auditory thought. So your auditory thought is you thinking in a language. That's more associated with your temporary in general, because that's more your persona or persona, or appearing through sound, pure sonar. So any thought that you get that's auditory is more from the conditioned, rational beast part of you. And so if we're talking about the beast in general, you're talking about 666, right? So that's just 6 electrons, 6 protons, 6 neutrons. That's carbon. So you could also say 666 is 6 breaths or more per 20 seconds, or 18 or more breaths per minute. Makes you too acidic, makes you too in the beast, makes you too in your auditory thoughts. So when you're overly acidic, the volume is turned up in the auditory thoughts. You're basically giving a microphone to the auditory thoughts when you're overly acidic. So your thoughts will haunt you. The auditory thoughts haunt you when you're overly acidic. When you're overly alkaline, the visual thoughts haunt you. The daydreams, the dreams in general, the visuals paralyze you. So anyway, let me digress. That your carbon is your beast, because the body, of course, is carbon based. The body is a carbon base and 102 minerals, hydrogen and oxygen. The CHO chain is carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. So hydrogen itself, what we could call water, hydro, and oxygen. So that's your H2O basically, because all water is hydrogen and oxygen combined. So there you go. That's your CHO chain, that's what the body is. 102 minerals strained along a carbon base with hydrogen and oxygen, bound together pretty much by this electricity or this light known as melanin. The body itself is the egg from the female. So the sperm itself, where's my other marker at? The sperm itself, the head of the sperm itself is like your brain. Your spine is like the tail of the sperm. The egg, or the feminine, or the Eve, the physical body, will be your organs, your tissue. That's the Eve, that's the feminine. Even on a male body, this is the Eve. All that can be seen, the material, the matter, that's the mother. That's the moth, the mothit. This is the light, this is the moth. This is the brain and spine. This is the tissue and the organs. So that's your expression of the acid and alkaline, the light and the darkness, and how they come together to create life. And in general, the balance and how you need both of them. The corpus calostrum is in the middle. That's the bridge that combines the left and the right. That's your rainbow bridge, or whatever, what have you. And once you get a balance or maintain homeostasis, once you maintain that balance, then you live beyond the pendulum of yin and yang, and you live more in this prefrontal lobe. So we can call this the frontal lobe. So this is the front of the brain. So it's the prefrontal lobe. This is where spirituality is even fathomed and housed. This is where you live above the rationale, the left brain, and above the emotions and intuition of the right brain. You're living above the reason and the irrationale. You're living in total void, infinity, the I, the first I. That is the prefrontal lobe. That takes 29 years to develop. So that takes one Saturn transit to develop the prefrontal lobe. So I don't know if you can really call a person an adult until, or spiritually, energetically, until this is fully developed. So it takes 29 years. And in that time, you go through your different stages, your different phases. You're going through 4 phases of 7 years, and then you're on the 29th year. You should be fully developed, and that should be, again, Saturn is Satan, so Saturn is making it's a 29-year elliptical around the center of the universe, and so as Saturn does that, that's pretty much a growth. That's pretty much the beast or Saturn or Satan. That's its development. That's a rite of passage in a sense, or however you want to look at it. That's a different stage of development, a different phase, however you want to call it. So whenever we are overly sacrificial of the male seed, we cause gross imbalance between both. Because whenever the masculine is tossed away, then the male obviously can't respect himself if he's tossing his seed away, because this is his past and his future. So if he tosses this away, then he can't respect himself. So he can't plant anything of any value or true value. So he can't treat himself well. So he can't treat the outward world well, like females. He can't treat females well. So you have imbalance in male and female. So you have disharmony in the expressions of the world. So it's when you talk about the right brain, that's more your true vision. Your left brain is your auditory thoughts, and you're thinking in language. If somebody was to say that they heard that something happened, that doesn't really mean that they know. But if someone said they saw it happen, that's more aligned with true knowledge. So the right brain or the visuals is more aligned with true knowledge. So that's your true vision, or your invisibility, seeing with your internal eye. So that's more in alignment with the source. but they're all used for continuity of expression. You need the rationale and the irrationale. You need to have emotional maturity to be emotionally rational, to know your emotional capacity and your emotional energy. And that's how you can balance the masculine, the rationale, with the irrational. Because you're saying, okay, I know my emotions, I know my right brain, I know my emotions, and I know the energy behind it. So I know it's quantifying my emotions, so I can rationalize it with my left. So I know I can't do certain things, certain jobs, certain activities, because I know it'll wear on my energy. So I can't even perform anyway in those things. So knowing my emotions, I am emotionally mature. So that's being able to see beyond the left and the right, being able to see beyond yin and yang. But that's emotional feng shui or feng shui, emotional prioritizing, and you have to totally meet yourself emotionally to get to that point. So you have to get back to the silence. So as far as the universal voice, they would say Hermes or Mercury. The universal voice that's vibrating from the center of the universe, or closer to the center of the universe, what we're calling Mercury, which has, because they would say we're the third rock, right? So Mercury's closer. However you want to look at it, man. Whether you're looking at Earth from a flat Earth view or whatever, Mercury has the smallest elliptical, and Mercury is in control of the communication or the voice of the universe. It is the initial vibration from Mercury. Mercury is the androgynous. Mercury is the androgynous vibration or reverberation of creation. It is the resonance of male and female combined. It is the sun and a moon. So Mercury is the androgynous state that we are coming from, the physical state. So if we're in this 3D, we're getting the message from the voice, from this silent vibration from the ether that we're getting in our thoughts, in our auditory thoughts and our auditory government. We're getting that from Mercury, and we're getting it from a more separate state of being. Mercury is in a more androgynous, more aligned, completely balanced between male and female, which is androgynous. From that state of oneness, the message is being, pretty much projected out, however you want to look at it. From there, that silence is being projected out. And from here, we get it in the form of noise because of the distance we are from the center of the circle. So, from the 3D, from yin and yang, from this oneness separating into two-ness, we're getting this silence in the form of sound, and other forms too. But that's the different densities and the expressions of the density. So then you see it's just going to go from sound. You can't separate light and sound. They're all vibration, they're all resonance. They're all the resonance of male and female. That's where the pot is stirred, or the cauldron is stirred. Is this resonance between male and female. All creation is had where that static exists or persists. So, or insists, I should say. So we're going from that state of androgynous into a state of more brokenness, male and female. And then, so the further we get from the center of the circle, the further we get into the density, the further we get into separation, the further we get away from the true self, or whatever you want to call the true presence, and into the reflections, and into the false presence, and feeding into the illusions of the reflection. So that was just the wrap of that last video.